Hello everybody, I'm Eternal Flame here, and today I'm here to talk about what has been revealed in the most recent chapter, which is what Yuji's training has led to, well, other than RCT, which is his brand new soul-seizing punches as labeled directly by Sukuna. What the potential effects of these soul-seizing punches can do besides what Sukuna directly stated, what we know about it already, and how strong these soul-seizing punches that Yuji now has access to. Now up first, I'm going to go over everything we currently know about the soul-seizing punches that we can say for a confident fact, which is Sukuna's direct description of what the soul-seizing punches do. Sukuna does directly say at the end of chapter 249 that the brat in his soul-seizing punches, he'll come trying to tear me from Fushiguro Megumi's body. As there's a flashback to earlier when Sukuna's body shook a little bit because of Yuji's punches, which we now find out directly affects Sukuna's soul, which tells us quite a lot. For example, and what I'm about to say might sound insane to a lot of you people, but I need this to straight up be established, Yuji's soul is now just straight up on a different level than Mahito's domain, because when Mahito did try and affect Sukuna's soul and change it in any way, shape, or form, he ended up face to face with Sukuna's direct soul and basically was one-shotted and was so afraid he would never touch his soul again. Meanwhile, Yuji did not get that same treatment and is actually able to affect and push Sukuna's soul a little bit. Now, this doesn't mean that Yuji's soul is on the same level as Sukuna, but it just means his soul currently massively exceeds that of Mahito. However, while we can definitely say what this means directly for Yuji's soul, as well as Yuji's level of soul manipulation and soul control, because Mahito was not able to specifically target Yuji's soul and not Sukuna's soul. However, when it came to Megumi and Sukuna's soul, Yuji's able to specifically target one or the other by splitting them apart. We don't exactly know currently what the full effects of it is and what will happen after a soul is split apart yet. For example, we don't know if Yuji does separate Sukuna from his soul. Does Sukuna end up just going back into Yuji's body? Does Sukuna end up dying soon after because he no longer has a body he can cling to? There are a lot of possibilities. Does Sukuna just full-on reincarnate? I think that's the least likely, by the way. However, there are a lot of possibilities for what could be the after effect on if Yuji does end up pushing Sukuna out of Megumi's soul. Furthermore, we also do not know how many punches that is required in order to actually shake Sukuna's soul directly. However, we do know it's likely not that many because of the fact that Sukuna did feel the effects after one punch, so I'm likely going to say somewhere around 10 to 20 punches is what's going to be needed. However, that's for us to see in the future. However, we do know there are actual ways to counter the technique so far. For example, if Sukuna instead chooses to catch Yuji's hand rather than blocking it directly, this soul effect doesn't happen. Because when we see Sukuna grab Yuji by the hand in order to block him and then land the cleave on his gut, it actually ends up working and he never gets the soul effect on Sukuna's body. So it has to be his direct fists. Furthermore, there is also a potential drawback that Yuji might have solved, because as we see in chapter 222, when Itadori swaps souls with Kusakabe, that is likely an unintended side effect, which is a possibility where if Yuji doesn't have enough of a handle on his own soul, his soul will end up entering into the person's body while the other person's body will enter into his own soul. However, this was at the start of the time skip, so there's a probable chance that Yuji has already solved this drawback. So now that we got all the questions out the way, I want to go over my theories on how this technique works, how Yuji even came up with this technique, and if this is actually a cursed technique at all. I'm going to go over if this is a cursed technique at all first, because that's the easiest one to answer, and in my simple opinion, no, it is not. However, it might as well just be a cursed technique, because I don't see anyone else other than maybe Sukuna directly being able to pull this off, but I don't think Sukuna has any reason he'd even want to pull this off. Based on how this ability works, it seems to be Yuji directly developing something from the soul book that Yuki had given him, and developing an application of it based on his own physical ability and how he most often fights, with his physical strength. Which I believe is something Yuji realized in the time skip, that his supernatural levels of physical strength ended up coming from the extremely powerful nature of his soul, one so powerful that even without cursed energy, he would be able to suppress Sukuna's soul directly. As I've already made a theory that Yuji's entire physical body and strength, and the reason why he's much stronger over the time skip, is because he realized the strength of his soul and fully turned it into his body, similar to what Mahito did in order to make himself much more powerful in the battle against Yuji. After all, Mahito has made it clear that the soul and the body are one and the same. If the soul gets stronger, then the body should get stronger by extension, and we directly do see this with Mahito, by Mahito getting closer and closer to his soul and strengthen his soul even further, unlocking his true form against Yuji. And I believe that's what Yuji is using as a basis for those arms of his. Now, why he is only using it on his arms, I have a theory around, which that theory is basically Yuji has set a binding vow on his very soul, so his arms are extra powerful. However, he chose not to set it on the rest of his body, knowing that he could likely just heal the rest rest of his body and new damage that happens to him using RCT, as we directly see him heal off the damage from the dismantles that were launched at him in chapter 248. Now, it is also possible that these are cursed tools, but I don't want them to be cursed tools, and I don't think anyone wants to be cursed tools, because I'm going to be honest with you, if they're cursed tools, they're just so much more boring, because what does it really lead to? And more importantly, why did no one else use these if they were cursed tools? Like, why not give them to Gojo? Anyways, that's beside the point. Now, I do need to say this. I am not saying that it's like guaranteed that this isn't a cursed tool, because I have no evidence to guarantee that it's not a cursed tool. Just that I really do not want it to be a cursed tool, and I'm making that extremely clear, because I'm pretty sure there are some people who've gotten confused before and think that I actually am saying for certain that it's not a cursed tool. Now, I do also think, though, that these soul-seizing punches are out of complete inspiration for Mahito. After all, Yuji should have the direct memory of what happened after Sukuna and Mahito directly interacted. After all, I've directly called this out before. When Mahito directly touched Sukuna's soul, this is one of the few times where Sukuna just seemed straight up annoyed with somebody, purely because of the fact that Sukuna actually said, "You dare to touch my soul," which implies that the soul is something much more dear to Sukuna in comparison to any other forms of damage, which does make a lot of sense considering Sukuna is basically just a pure soul at this point in a finger. Furthermore, with the amount of Culling Games players that he would know by this point, from Kashimo to Hana, and how both of them work because they have a secondary soul within them, I can see it being very likely that Yuji, after using the soul book and gaining a full access and view of the soul, would think to himself of how to separate the souls, and how to try and separate the souls using Mahito as direct inspiration. Furthermore, Yuji having the knowledge that splitting souls is possible either through Hana directly telling him that through Angel, or through Sukuna himself because of Sukuna's entire memory of when Sukuna put his soul into the finger that he fed into Megumi. Either way, he should know that splitting the soul is possible, and that's what Yuji is trying to emulate with these soul-seizing punches. But now let's finally get into this. How powerful are these soul-seizing punches, and what would the after effects of these do, assuming he can succeed in actually taking out Sukuna's soul? And this is just going to be purely speculation based on some evidence we already have from Jujutsu Kaisen, but I do want to establish there is a chance that this could very much be wrong as well. If Yuji is able to successfully push Sukuna's soul out of Megumi's body, it's probably just game over for Sukuna 100%, because of something that's always been established for all JJK characters. Souls cannot exist on their own. They need a physical medium in order for them to exist and reincarnate. Whether that physical medium is a cursed tool or a vessel themselves, what we do know is they do need a physical medium as a body in order to always exist. Now, could it be possible that Sukuna, in a last-ditch effort, ends up trying to possess someone else? Maybe, but I just don't see Yuji even letting that happen at that point if we are able to even get to that point. After all, getting to that point is going to be super insanely difficult, because it's not like Yuji is going to be able to do it in one punch. He is going to need a lot of punches. I've made really clear that I don't think this is a one-punch type tactic. However, this is on Sukuna in specific. What if this were on other people? If this was against other people, this is insanely powerful, because I still want this to be put into perspective that Yuji's soul is on a different level from Mahito's just by the sheer fact he is able to affect Sukuna's soul to begin with. However, it more than likely does function the same way that Idol Transfiguration does, where if someone does have enough cursed energy, they aren't going to instantly get their soul teared away in one punch or another. Similar to how Mahito needed several touches in order to transfigure Nanami's soul, as well as he couldn't do it to Toto's soul because of the fact that his soul was at 40% HP. However, this is all very much just speculation on my part, because we still have no idea what these soul punches do quite yet, other than the fact that it will directly separate Sukuna's soul from Megumi's soul, and that we know that it does work on individual people, and you don't just need two souls for it to work on you, considering the fact that Yuji does use this against Kusakabe himself. Now, this does also mean that Yuji is likely able to place the souls back into people's bodies as well, if that happens. However, I don't see that happening with Sukuna. However, no matter what, this is just an absolutely insane hack if it works the way I think it actually does work. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you guys think that my speculation about how the soul-seizing punches worked, am I reaching a little bit? Am I not reaching enough? Are they much more powerful than I'm saying, or are they much weaker than I'm saying? Comment down your opinions down below, and I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out. Have a good day.